Okay. All right. So last week we discussed about CTI and email header analysis. We talked about some steps that we can take to validate the authenticity of emails that we receive to determine if the email is malicious or not. And then we went ahead to, give a task for the week. And I want to say kudos to you guys, because from the first task to this one, a considerable amount of change, the upward direction. You guys have been really, really doing well. You'll be taking into consideration the corrections and insights from everybody. So kudos to you guys. I was really impressed with this week's task, because I don't think the number of people that made some mistakes are even up to 10 for this week. And so I believe we should not even spend a lot of time in today's class, because few people seem to be getting the angle, the whole thing now. So as we always do, start by going through our task, and then we start what's it called, answering some questions and make corrections where needed. So we're given this email, we're given the scenario that an employee in the accounting department forwards us this email. They forwarded it to the phishing@companies.com inbox. So I guess we are assuming that our organization actually has an email server that is dedicated to phishing or any other malicious email that our employees received. So this particular employee forwarded the email to that mailbox, and they said, "This looks suspicious. Can you check?" So we must analyze the email and its contents. So given the raw email source, we have everything we need here, and we have the body of the email as well. We have additional intel, so we assumed that we had already gone on to various total to check something out, and these are some of the results that are necessary or that we deem essential to aid us in this analysis. So our task is to analyze the email headers and intelligence, and then we should go ahead to answer the following questions. So we're going to begin with the first question that says, what header field prove this is a malicious email? Who wants to go first this night? Who is going to? The first question asks, what header fields prove this is a malicious email? You guys can see my screen, right? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So who is going to answer the first question for us? John.
So can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. For the first question, first on the malicious header, the first one I got was the return parts. The return parts had a different is different from the front parts. So from each other. The SPF, then the SPF and the DMARC validations, both of them are the DMARC had a fail. I had a reject, while the SPF had a fail. Those are the three things from the header analysis.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. Yeah, I believe you mentioned the necessary part of the emails that we require. Right. So what the next question? The next question asks, what is the attacker's real IP address? I already. If you're speaking, I can't hear you. Maybe your network is bad. I can't hear you. Maybe someone else can take the question why I already saw network. Zuma.
All right, thank you, sir. The attacker's IP address is 198.51.100.10.
All right, that's correct. Thank you. Next question. What law or social engineering tactic is being used in the email body?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I am ready. We can hear you now.
Sorry, I was having issues with my network. Okay, the answer has already been responded to.
Yes, so if you can take the next question then.
Okay, what's the next question? Sorry.
The social engineering tactic that is being used in the email body.
Okay. Let me just say sphere of urgency. Sphere of urgency, and from the mail, you see that it gives a limited time of 30 days overdue. So kind of a threat that's urging the person to respond within a stipulated period of time. So it's urgency of your consequence if the person doesn't respond.
Okay, yeah, correct. Then, what is the actual URL of the link? Who is going to take this one? What is the actual URL of the link? Should I start calling names? No, John, you've already answered one. Zuma, you've already answered as well. Thompson, yeah, go ahead.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
So for me, I was trying to first of all understand the question when I was answering this. So when you say what is the actual URL, are you saying that, are you asking that is it the fictitious or cloned URL, or you are saying you are asking about the actual URL that is the real correct URL?
No. So this is it. When you look at the email body, right, you have two links here. You have one here, and you have another one.
Your screen.
You can't see my screen?
Yes.
Is she the only one or everybody?
I can see
Okay,
your screen.
I can see your screen. I think Aisha can refresh or something.
Okay, so I guess Aisha, maybe it's your network. All right. So as I was explaining, we have two links here. One year. Now, normally, if this email should come into your mailbox well constructed, right, and they are telling you click here to view your accounts, you are probably, you know, most of these people, they will now tell you, or you can use this link. This is the link that you will see. Do you understand? This is the link you will see when you over on the button, the click here to view button. This is the link you will see. But in real sense, when you click on that button, where you are going is the link that is wrapped in the href.
Okay, now I get it, and that's what I actually said. It's the when I answered the question, it was the fictitious link. That's the fake one, the one they cloned. Because if you look at the finance, it was not well spelled there, and it was deliberate. They use an hyphen instead of an I.
Yes, exactly. You got it right. So yeah, that's the actual link, because that is where you are actually going to. Now, well, I think you've already answered this. Does this URL look legitimate? Why or why not? Thompson has already answered that question now. So let's jump to the next one. What is the name of the attachment? Next person. Who do I have next that has not spoken? Oluwatosin.
Yes. The name of the attachment. Sorry, my background is noisy. That's why I'm not going to respond. So the name of the attachment is the invoice underscore 9A8B.zip.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Next up, based on the virus total results, what kind of malware is this? Let me see who is next here. Emmanuel. Emmanuel, are you there?
Yeah, good evening. I'm here. The environment is kind of noisy. Okay, so let me take it. So based on the virus total results, the malware that was discovered is a Trojan malware. But specifically, the name there was the Emotet Trojan downloader. Sorry, that's so Trojan malware is specifically the Trojan downloader, Emotet. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next question. An indicator of compromise is a piece of data you can use to block the attacker. List at least 3 IOCs from this email that you give to your tier 2 firewall team. John, if you plan on answering the question, no. But if you have something else, you can speak up.
Is it part of answering no words? I don't know if you how you see it.
I hope it is not this question.
Is this particular question you just asked?
This IOC.
Yes, I was
No.
doubtful of the last one on my own. That was
Just hold on. Let somebody answer, then you can chip in.
okay, sir.
So who is going to take this one? Or I should start looking through my list again to call somebody. Thank God I can see the name. Adinka, are you here? Can you hear me? Adinka, I'm not calling you to answer the question. Just let me know if you are here. I guess not. Glorina, thank you for laughing. Please, you answer the question.
Good evening, everybody. Okay, so the first indicator of compromise for me was the domain name. The domain name, yes, and also the hash file.
Yeah? We asked for 3. You just gave us 2.
Okay, sir, with the IP address.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so Adenka, I wanted to ask us, I've made it an habit that, you know, those students that I always see, okay, just, you can listen them. Those students, I always see them submit their assignments. So when I don't see it in a particular week, I tend to want to ask if there's any problem. And I think you are one of those people that I noted who didn't submit this week assignment, and you always submit your assignment. So is there any issue? Why didn't you submit this week's assignment? You can type in the group since you said, in the chat, since you said you can speak right now. Who was it again that I did not see their submission? I'm not sure I saw Aisha's on too.
So, may I submit to your DM, sir? I not even check it.
I've been busy, really. I will, if not for the class tonight, but I will check, I will revert. Aisha, are you here?
Yes, I am. Yes, I did.
I can't remember. Who was it again? No. I think I noticed some people. Sunday. Okay, I think Sunday. Okay. I think Sunday submitted.
I submitted.
Yes, indeed. Okay, I think aside from okay, no, it is not like you can actually Manuel, it's not like you can actually submit assignment to my DM, right? So there's a reason why John normally sends documents to my DM. He normally submits on the class what's it called? In the classroom, like everybody else. But then there's a kind of an extra work that he does, and he always sends that to my DM. I think this was established maybe the first or second class, and I said it that anyone that wanted to, try to go the extra mile in their assignment, different from the one they submitted to the classroom, they can always send it to my DM so that I can go through it. That's maybe you do something different from what you sent to the classroom. So yeah, that's why John said he sent to my DM. Okay, so now that we've answered all the questions, I believe the recommendation is practically something that we all know. I am going to start pointing out some mistakes that I saw when I was marking you people's assignment. And the first mistake that quite a number of people made is about the actual URL. The actual URL. So I'm going to let you guys know now that if you're having something like this, like you have this, what do they even call this? A tag. I've forgotten this, what they call this, a tag. But my point is a hyperlink. Thank you. So if I'm not mistaken, if you have any developer yet, when you have to link embedded in an hyperlink, I believe the one with the href, the first one with the href will always take precedence over the other one, isn't it? And also, as you can see, this this link is actually inside the hyperlink. It's inside the hyperlink. This is where the hyperlink started, and this is where it closed off. This is where it's closed off. While this other link is outside the hyperlink. So it's as if it is not even referenced. Like it's just there to convince you. It's not actually going to do anything. When you click on that button, you are not going here. You are not going here because this link is not inside the hyperlink. It is this other one that is inside. So this is why this is the actual URL. This is where you'll be directed to when you click on that button. That is where you are going. And we can see that it is not legitimate because it is a typo-squatted link, as what his name mentioned. Thompson mentioned that you can see where you're supposed to have I as finance, we have hyphen there. We were supposed to have the letter O, we have the number 0 in COP, right? So all this is just to try on your attention to details when you do not look. I know majority of us, sometimes we just click on link, we just go on doing what we are doing. We don't even know where, we don't even pay attention to any changes that has been done to the link the moment we click on it. We just continue doing what we are doing. Now, I think another this thing that I saw is the name of the attachment. So some people went ahead to write the name of the attachment as Trojan. Some went ahead and say it is more generic XF. These are other names or families that this kind of file is attributed to that we discover on Virus Total. But the actual name of the attachment is what you see in the email address, which is invoice 988b.zip. If there was no Virus Total, you will not be seeing anything like Trojan, Emotet. This is what you will have. So the actual name of the attachment is this. But the family or some other popular names that this kind of malware is associated with is what you now have as this Trojan.emotet, more generic Excel, and it is the downloader. I believe if there are people that are familiar with Emotet, I'm sure we have those familiar with Emotet here. So you will know the danger of Emotet and its capability as well. Then another thing that I'm going to point to is the indicator of compromise. But before I do that, John, you said you have something regarding that. You can go ahead and speak on that before I explain something there.
Okay. Concerning that IOC, I initially had the reservation for the SHA. I don't know if I can count that one as an indicator of compromise, since it doesn't look as if like it's not in the body of the email. Neither is it in the header. It's just like an attachment.
What's that?
The hash function, the hash function from email.
So you are wondering if you should include it
Add it,
as
yes, as an IOC, because
definitely it is an IOC. Definitely it must be included. That's a file IOC. All the other are majorly network IOC.
it's like why I was skeptical was because it's after they've run, because it's just like on the additional it's like an additional the additional section there. So it's not like it's in the body or it's in the header of the email. So without that one, you can, like, if you have to analyze only the header, if you have to analyze only the email and the header, you won't get to that hash function, that the hash value that you'll be seeing, that so that you'll be including it in the IOCs. That's why.
All right, let me point you to something here. Now, we've seen the details of the email, the header and the body. This is additional intelligence. It says you are a good analyst, so you don't download the file. Instead, you get its SHA-256 hash from the mail filter. Now, this is assumed that the organization has set up a kind of filter that we allow you to be able to what? To determine or discover the hash value of any attachments, right? And that is how you got the hash value. Remember, it is as if you now you started your analysis. I hope you are getting it, John. You started your analysis, and that was how you discovered the hash value. Now, the question is asking you for at least 3 IOCs from this email that you will give to your tier 2 or the firewall team. Now, remember that either was it the last class or some other class before the last class, we talked about firewall blocking IPs and blocking files. That when we get a malicious file or a malicious attachment and we've done our analysis, part of our recovery, part of our what's it called, containment and everything, is to ensure that that file based on the hash is blocked, so that when any email is coming in with that kind of with a file that matches that hash, it will be what? Automatically blocked. Again, remember I said it that when you as a tier 1 analyst, when you do your analysis and you want to escalate to tier 2, you have to ensure that your report, your comment to the tier 2 contains all the necessary information that they will need. I will still say it again. The job of a tier 1 analyst, aside from, you are the first line of defense, you detect and everything, your job is to make the work of the tier 2, the tier 3 analysts, your job is to make their work easier, right? Your job is to make their work easy, so that when they want to do additional analysis, they do not have to be going through anything again. You've given them the necessary thing that they have to focus. They don't have to look through that email again. They need to believe that you've given them everything that they require to go ahead to perform additional analysis, right? Do you get it now, John?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I think that was part of what I wanted to explain initially as well, because there are some people that made that error of not including hash value. Then there were some people that actually, in the indicator of compromise, they just mentioned the domain, the IP address, the hash, and the hash of the file. It's not as if they actually included the values as they were. So when you are submitting to tier 2, you just don't tell them the domain is part of the IOC, the IP address is part of the IOC. You just don't tell them something generic like that. So you are directing them to go back to the email to go and look for the IP address, the domain by themselves. No, you attach the real value, 192. Whatever the domain finance.biz, you attach it like that. What other thing did I? Okay, so I've mentioned the actual URL. Because like I said, some people mistook the actual URL to be this one, and they added it as part of the IOC, which is wrong. Which is wrong. Now, another thing I'm going to call our attention to is when you look at the email header, the first question asked us for what header fields prove this is a malicious email. It does not request for a specific number. So whatever field that you see here that can point to the fact that this is malicious, you have to include them. So some people only made mention of what's it called, SPF and DMARC. And some mentioned return parts received by, and they omitted SPF and DMARC. The best way to do this is every single field that you see here that points to this or that can aid your analysis, that can support your analysis that this email is malicious, they have to be included. The DMARC, the SPF, the from, the return part, the fact that you are replying to something at gmail.com, every single part of them must be included, right? So that is the point of everything. Let me see, was there any other thing that I wanted to call our attention to? Yeah, I think that was pretty much what I saw that I noted down that I'm going to call our attention to. So do we have questions? Adenka, is your hand up for question or it's been up since? Said you cannot talk. So I'm guessing it's been up since. Who do I have next here? Aisha.
Yes, thank you. The question is regarding the hash value. What's the part of the email you use to generate the hash value?
Sorry, Aisha, I don't know if
Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, it's better now.
I said, my question is regarding the hash value. What parts of the email header do you, how do I put it now? Do you use to generate the hash value? That's one. Then, secondly, after generating the hash value, is it that it's particular to the malware family that Virus Total labeled it as, or it's just a generic hash value that can detect a suspicious or a phishing email? I don't know if you get my question.
Yes, I do. Now, before I answer your question, I want to remind us that most of all these tasks that you are given are just simulated tasks, right? It's not as if they are actual real-world scenario. We are just trying to simulate real-world scenario. So now, the hash value was not gotten from the email header per se, but there's a way that organization can set up their email server that once there's an attachment to that, what's it called? An attachment to that email, they will be able to, what's it called? Discover, or they'll be able to, what's the word? Extract. Thank you. You'll be able to extract the hash value of that attachment without downloading the attachments. I don't know if you get that point. There is a way that can be done, that you'll be able to extract the hash value of a file without downloading the file. That is one. Now the second one regarding the virus total. So this is it. Remember we've said it that a file, as long as every single details is correct from when it was created, the hash value is always going to be the same whenever you try to compute it using the same algorithm. So if I download the file 2024, the hash value that was computed for that file, as long as that file remains unchanged in every single way, if I try to compute the hash value again in 2025, it is still going to what? It is still going to be the same thing. Now, how does virus total now what we call attributed to all these Trojan, emotex, whatever? In the last class, someone asked a question, or was it when I was trying to explain? When we explained the pyramid of pain, we said the normal way this thing works is that when you stop a certain attack, what the attacker does is that they go back, they try to understand why their first attack failed. Then they build on that attack and come back to attack you again. While this hash value now for this our was even the file, the attachment invoice.98b.zip, the actual hash value might be different from the one that was first noted to be Trojan.emotet, or the one that was more generic Excel, or the one that was W32 downloader. The hash value might be different. How virus total attribute this thing is by the behavior of the malware. So imagine now that the first time the attacker built this malware, the first time the attacker developed this malware, the moment you execute the malware, you will start seeing that it downloaded some certain file to your desktop. And you know that once you are looking at your desktop, when you are analyzing, those kind of things are very easy and you are quick to notice them. So you are able to what? To quickly draft up a report that this particular malware download these particular things to the desktop. You publish it. Now, people know that when they are looking at this kind of file, what they should be on the lookout for is some files that will be downloaded to their desktop. They will be on the lookout for that. Now, the attacker knows that this was the reason their their file, their malware was detected and stopped. Because people now know that once they execute it, they need to just be looking at their desktop for any new files. The attacker now goes back to change the path to where those files are being downloaded. So instead of them being downloaded to the desktop in the open where you can see, he now modified that path to be now, let's say, maybe a folder in the user's directory. I want you to remember what we just explained. As long as the content of the file does not change, the hash value will remain the same. But once the content changes, the hash value will be different. Now the attacker has changed something. You've changed the path from desktop to a folder in the user directory. The hash value will now be different. But the behavior, the nature of that malware is still the same. It is still a downloader. So when another person discovers the way that malware works, they compute their report, they compute the hash value, and then they publish it for the threat intelligence platform. The threat intelligence platform will now look through their database. Do they have any malware that has been reported with the same behavior or similar behavior? Oh yes, they had one. And that one was the one that downloaded to the desktop. But when they look at everything, every behavior, every signature, they are the same. The only thing that has changed is the path to which this thing is downloaded. They will now attribute it. This file can be attributed to this other one that we discovered. And the family is Trojan downloader. They can be attributed together. If the malware developer notice that, okay, yeah, people are now seeing that his file have been downloaded to this thing, he can now decide to change something. Instead of those files being downloaded immediately, he can decide to make it in a way that it will take about 5 minutes before those files will be downloaded. So when you execute it, you are waiting, you are waiting, you are waiting. You do not see anything happen. So you can, if you are not patient enough, you can just what? You can conclude that, okay, maybe this is doing nothing. Whereas the malware developer has changed something, he has changed the timing. Again, when you try to compute the hash value, it is going to be different from the first one because something has changed. But when somebody discovers, documents, reports, threat intelligence platform are going to what? They're still going to go through the same process, try to see if there's any malware that they've already discovered and tagged that has the same or similar behavior. Once they discover that, they will what? They will attribute it. So that's why when you upload a file to all these virus data and the like, they will always be telling you the common name and the family to which they belong. So when you try to go and find those other family or those other names, if you can lay your hand on them and you execute them, it is possible that the way they work might be slightly different, but overall, their goal is the same. Hence, what you see on this virus total. Aisha, does that answer the questions?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Thompson.
Okay. My question is still within the meanwhile, thank you for the question, Aisha. And the answer was enlightening. So my question is still with respect to this indication or indicators of compromise.
Okay.
Now, first of all, I want to know, I know you've answered this before, but I think I want you to be a bit specific now with respect to the expectation of the tier 2. Now, let's say this indication of compromise are only imputed the hash value, and then I expected that the tier 2 we just copy this hash value, put it on virus total so that we get more details even beyond what I got. And then I also put maybe the SPF and the DMARC, how they were rejected or they failed. Would I have done right to meet the expectations of the tier 2? Or do I have to be so detailed, so detailed that I'm practically almost doing maybe more than what is expected of me? And then we also know that there's also a time constraint with respect to the fact that, okay, maybe this was truly a true positive, and then the attacker must have been doing a lot, or maybe I didn't even discover it on time. When I discovered it, the thing has gone far. And then the tier 2 only get to know when I escalate it. Do you understand what my question is?
Yes, I understand your question. So I'm going to start.
So what is the hash value? Okay. Just the hash value. Because the hash value actually says a lot. By putting it on virus and other platform, it will reveal a lot.
All right. I will try to answer the question. Now, when you were trying to ask the question, you mentioned something about time constraint. And I've always emphasized it in the class that time is important in the SOC. The peak time that we use to, what is it called? Peak time, there's peak time for detection and there's peak time for response. And we try to make sure those 2 times are they are as little as possible. So you decide to because you are trying to beat time, you only gave the, what was it called? You only gave the tier 2 the hash value that this is incident of compromise, the file. What happened to the IP address? The person is already in your network. Their IP address is already living in your network. How do you expect the response team to be able to block what that person is doing by just the hash value? The hash value cannot give you the IP address of the attacker. If they go to, what is it called? They go to virus total to impute the hash value. It will only give them information about that hash, about that file, what that file does, and some other C2 server that that file or that family of malware has been associated with. It does not necessarily mean the attacker that is currently using that to attack us also has the same IP address as the one that has been noted on virus data. So while you sent the tier 2 analyst on a goose chase to chase down the hash value, to chase down information about the file, the attacker is already in our environment doing whatever they are doing. Again, the domain, the malicious domain also, how do we know if it has not been clicked by that employee that sent us this email? Or how do we know that other employees are not also a victim of this particular attack? But if you provide all these details, they already know that you sent this thing to be positive. Whether it's going to be true positive later on or not, the fact that you attributed it as true positive and you escalated it, part of the response is to immediately block access to those IOCs that you provided, the IP address, the domain, to ensure that if there is any ongoing communication between them and any employee in our organization, you terminate them. But if you give them only the file hash value, how do they terminate that communication? They can't. If you go ahead to include that as part of your IOC, the DMARC failed, the SPF failed, the return part is this, that. Yes, those are also correct. But do they help us immediately? The DMARC that failed, what does it help us to stop? Nothing. It only points to the fact that yes, the email is malicious. The SPF, the return part, they only point to the fact that this is malicious. They do not help us to what? To block, to isolate at this moment, because that is what we need. We need to isolate immediately. We need to block immediately. And what do we block? The IP address and the domain. Those are what we need to block. So you can see why just providing the hash value of the attachment alone to the tier 2 is not going to be of great assistance. In fact, I can say it's not going to be any assistance immediately to the tier 2 analysts. Do you understand that now, Thompson?
Yes, I do. It's clear.
Okay, I'm glad. The
But
next,
please, how? Sorry, sir. One more, please. How? I know you've had a lot of real world experience with this, with SOC. You get, please. How detailed is detail? that suffices from a real world experience, please.
Okay. I think, again, I said it during one of our classes that the whole entire SOC, right? You can have a general knowledge, a standard knowledge. It's just like, this whole, let me use this, our compliance is our standard. For example, the ISO 27001. If you guys are familiar with it, that's information security management, right? It is a standard, a general standard. It's more of a guideline for organizations to follow. As the organization, you can now determine what part of the ISO is what is it called? What part of the ISO standard affects you? And those are the ones you are going to focus on. So how detailed your report should be depends on the organization that you find yourself. But I'm going to say the standard way is that you should include as much information as you can to make the work of the Tier 2 analyst smooth and fast. Because when you escalate a certain incident, we've been saying Tier 2, Tier 2, Tier 2. It is not only the Tier 2 that is going to start going into work. The whole IR team, incident response team, will be called upon to start working. So while the threat hunters are trying to hunt for more threat, the firewall team, the security engineers, the detection engineers, those that are in charge of making the detection rule, they will start working to immediately block access, immediately block communication based on what you provide. They can see it that the IP address you noted, they know this is not an IP address that belongs to the organization's environment. So whether they will later discover that that IP address is legit or not, they have to first block it. So whatever information you are providing is not just only the Tier 2 analysts that will be called upon. We just call them Tier 2 analysts because, this is like a generic name for them, but they contain more than one person. Maybe you are thinking of the Tier 2 analysts as just one person. They contain more than one person. Just like I said it, that I in particular, I am more focused in malware analysis. So if I'm to be like a Tier 1 analyst now, anything that has to do with malware might be thrown to my screen. So same thing with the Tier 2 analysts. We have people that are advanced malware analysts, advanced incident responder, advanced threat hunters. So all these people will be called upon when there is a threat ongoing, not necessarily one person. It all depends on the setup of the organization. Does that clarify that as well?
Yes, very clear. Thank you so much.
All right. Shabi Awal.
Good evening.
Good
So
evening.
my question is related to what Aisha asked, but because you said something about the attachments, what I really understand about it, like what I do normally use is I download the attachments, then now get the hash value. But then you mentioned about the organization have a software that they do use to generate all those hash value automatically. So I want to ask, is it like anyone, or which software do they use? Because I think downloading the file to the attachment to then now getting the hash value is somehow not the best way to do it. So that's my question. Please, do you get it?
You are asking like for a way to get the hash value without downloading the file. Is that your question?
Yes, yes. You mentioned that there is a software that the organization use.
Okay,
So
okay. It is not more of a software rather than a filter. Remember that when you have a, what's it called, when you are using an organization, okay, let me put it this way. Gmail service now, the Gmail service that you are using, you know, it is going to be the number of things you can do, the services that are available to you from Gmail is going to be different to what is available to an organization that is paying for it. Just like we were talking about Splunk, you know, we have Splunk Enterprise and we have Splunk Cloud for our organizations and the likes. When you are using a free version of something and someone else is using a paid version, what the services available to you are different. Look at all these our AI, ChatGPT and the likes. When you are using the free version of ChatGPT, you know you have limited amount of, for example, files that you can upload to them. Sometimes when you are even chatting with them, it will reach a point they will tell you you've exceeded, you have to wait for certain hours before you can interact with ChatGPT again. But someone that is using Pro, that is subscribed, they can upload as much file as they want and they can chat with ChatGPT from morning to night without any restriction. So it's the same thing when organization make use of an email server. They have more access to services than you. So when I explain that there's a way to get the hash value, it's not necessarily a software, but rather more like of a filter, right? So it's just like an automatic analysis is being run for them without them downloading the file. For you to upload something to any.run, you have to download it now. You have to download it before you upload it to any.run. But in an organization environment, there is a way to ensure that when attachment comes with email, you can get the hash value can be computed without downloading that attachment. I don't know if that is in line with what you asked.
yes, yes. Thank you very much. Thank
All
you.
right. Ebuka.
Okay, is from the body and link analysis. The third question, does the URL look legitimate? Why or why not? I was not around when you explained that, so I want more clarification on that. And I want to know the answer to that.
Sorry, you said is what?
Body and link analysis.
Okay.
Does the URL look legitimate? Why or why not? So I was not
Okay.
around. I didn't join the class when you explained that, so I want to get clarification on it. I want
Okay.
to know what the answer is.
I see. All right. So I'll just quickly run through that again. I mentioned that the actual URL of this email is this one here, right? Not this one. This is the reason. When all these developers, all these coders, when they are coding and they want to what? They want a link to be attached to whatever they're doing, they make use of what? The hyperlink. And the tag for the hyperlink is this A that you're seeing here. So there's always opening and closing. So what the link that is embedded in the href of this A tag is going to be what? Is going to be the link you are going to see when you want to click or when you want to visit a particular place that the programmer wants you to visit. When we look at these links that we have here, we can see that the attack started from here and it closed here. Meaning whatever link we have inside here is going to be the link that is going to be referenced when we click on the button that says click here to view your account. This other link that we are seeing here is outside of the hyperlink. It is outside. So you are not being directed there. When you click this button, click here to view your account, you are not going to this link because this link is just there. It's just there. You are not going there. That's not where you're going. Where you are going is the link that's inside the HRF. Now, why is this link malicious? From every indication that we've been seeing financial and financehub.com.login.this.that. Looking at these two links that we have here, we can see we have http portal.financehub-login.com, whatever. This is well spelled. This is well spelled. But the actual link is typo-squatted version of this. You can see the finance is not well spelled. Where you're supposed to have FI, we have Z exclamation mark. Yes, we have F exclamation mark. This is an exclamation mark here, not the letter I. And when we come to the core part of it, we have the number 0, not the letter 0. That's another thing. Then remember, we are dealing with a financial account. They are telling us our payment invoice is overdue. They want us to what? Log in to make payment. So tell me, why will a payment gateway be using HTTP? Why will a payment gateway be using HTTP? Something that literally everybody knows that it's an unsecure gateway. So why would you be using HTTP instead of HTTPS? Even if this were to be HTTPS, the fact that all these are misspelled is already enough to tell us that yes, this is malicious, this is not legitimate. Claire, Ebuka. All right.
Yeah, thank you for explaining. Thank you very much.
All right. Thompson.
Yes. Thank you. I'm always particular about reward experience. Okay, so one of the characteristics of that Trojan is credential theft. That's if the attacker succeeds, steals credential. So I want you to also please give me a response with respect to a reward experience. Let's say for a bank, the attacker successfully stole credentials before this thing was detected. Maybe the tier 1 detected it and then the escalated it and then the IP was blocked. So, but the credential has already been stolen. My question then is, what happens or what does the organization do, since in a way the attacker has succeeded in stealing credential, which I believe in my use probably to sell in the dark web or just do something still rogue about it?
So it's clear. Once the credential has been stolen, that means the attacker has valuable information. So what do? You don't have any other choice. You change those those credentials. So it's just as if, imagine now that somebody found the password to your email address. What do? You just don't say, Otilo, my email is gone. No. Before the person can do any more damage, what you do, you put that into my mouth. before you go ahead to do any other thing, you change your credentials. You change the password. If you can change the username as well, you change it. Now, the craziest part of this thing now, this is the craziest part of this thing. If this attacker now stole a lot of credentials, not just one person's, stole like, let's say about 100 employees' credentials. And if the organization now is an organization that has a kind of a password policy or a way that your passwords are being structured, that's another problem for you. That's another problem for you is that, for example, now let's say you normally make use of your the first name of the employee, follow with some random numbers, but attacker was able to like determine the structure, the formatting of those passwords. They can start, even if you go ahead to change those credentials, as long as you still make use of those policies, attacker they can start this what we call dictionary attack, along with brute force attack. So they can use the logic of what they got to try and see if they can come up with other possible passwords that your employees can come up with, as long as they are following that structure. That's why it is not always advisable for organizations to have a password structure. Highest that you should have is the what you call policies. Have the policies that okay, your password should be this length, it should contain this, it should contain that, it should contain this, but never tell them that always use this, generate that for your password. No, let them generate it as long as they follow your password policies, so that the structure for one employee will be different from any other employee. You get. So when the attacker gain access to your credentials, those ones are gone. Best you can do is to change every single credentials that have been compromised. Clear? Do we have any other questions?
Okay, thank you for the response. So, but I was talking about maybe thousands of customers' credentials, and this customer did not know, but they've stolen their credentials. I'm not talking about staff.
Okay.
Maybe like GTB.
Okay, this is it. You know, for everything, again, I'm going to take us back to ISO, right? For every organization, there are standard regulations that they must follow. When your customers' credentials have been stolen, when information about your customers have been stolen, then you definitely have to inform them. It's part of compliance, it's part of the standard that you must inform them. There's nothing like they stole your customer's credentials and the customer did not know. The moment your team find out that what's it called, this thing has been compromised, it is part of the standard that you must notify your customers. I believe you must have come across several cybersecurity news that we inform their customers that so organization was under attack and several this thing has been compromised, but they cannot actually give what's it called, details about those customers that were compromised, but they advise that every of their clients should change their credentials. I don't know if you've come across all those kind of cybersecurity news. So it is all these things is part of them trying to comply with all these standards, right? I don't know if compliance is even part of this, anything compliance is part of this internship program, but you should know this as SOC analysts, compliance has to be a big part of your work. You can't do without it. Because every detection, every log that you are doing form part of some compliance to some certain standard. Believe me when I tell you that most of the what we call organization experience that I have had, majorly they've been on the compliance part, the GRC part, much more than the SOC. I think I've only currently, the work I'm doing currently as a SOC for a particular software developer and development organization, I think that's the only experience I've had as a SOC. I'm into SOC, but that's the only SOC experience I've had. Majority of my experience has been in the compliance part of it, the GRC. So it's not uncommon for you to go to an organization and you see that the stock analysts there are also into GRC, right? It's not uncommon to see something like that. So when your customers' credentials are compromised, you have to inform them. They need to be informed.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other question? All right then, in the absence of question, I guess we've come to the end of today's class. So thank you all for coming to the class. It was enjoyable as usual, and I hope to see you in the next class. And also, I want to use this opportunity to thank you guys again for your wishes, your prayers, and all on Monday. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. So we see tomorrow by 4:30. Do have a restful night.